Life cereal. A delicious part of a complete breakfast.
We open with Buffy showing up with fast food takeout, but everyone is already eating because they didn't know when she would come back from seeing Angel. And thankfully, we don't have to see any of that, but unfortunately, we still have to hear them talk about it.
And when Dawn asks her what it was like to see Angel again, she mispronounces boring as intense. Unless maybe she meant intensely boring. And I'm surprised you didn't mention the bucket of generic chicken with just a picture of a cartoon chicken on it, and the fact that it's clearly empty.
Well, she's really strong, so maybe it looked like it was empty.
That's true, okay.
I assume Sarah Michelle Gellar showed up in the show Angel?
I don't know. Someone can answer in the comments.
And the answer is no, to the question they will inevitably ask.
Oh. I didn't know what you were talking about, okay. Giles asks her what her plan is going forward, and she says she thought she should go back to school, but she missed the registration period. But Willow suggests she just audit classes with her and Tara for now.
So Willow and Tara have been going to school this entire time because we've never seen them doing anything like that or talk about it or anything.
I'm curious what their majors are and what their plans are for life, because I don't see them going anywhere.
Yeah, something in general that confuses me about this show is people that have the ability to effectively use magic. Why do they need to do regular life stuff?
I mean, Willow likes school.
Yeah, but what about boring shit? Like, oh man, I can't wait to go to my 9 to 5.
How is Buffy going to support herself? Like, that should not be a problem if you have magic. To magic up some money.
Yeah, or magic up a demon to attack people in a bank while you physically go there yourself to empty the tills.
I mean, they'd have an endless supply of food because Willow can keep luring deer in.
Yeah. I mean, she could keep going until she has $1 million.
We cut, unfortunately, to Jonathan and Warren discussing how to take out Buffy so that she won't impede their attempts to take over Sunnydale.
So that's their goal, this vague goal of just taking over, right?
I think so. I kind of had that question too.
They just have all this vague language of Buffy standing in their way. But they can do whatever they want as long as they don't draw attention to themselves with hell-related things, then Buffy should just leave them alone.
Warren shows off a van decked out with surveillance equipment, and we see that Andrew has airbrushed a Death Star onto the side, and we're supposed to believe that he somehow did that without the others noticing, even though they're all in the same place, and that would have taken forever. And needless to say, we also get a lot more dumb Big Bang Theory level of stupid non-jokes.
Yeah, could we please throw in a few more nerd stereotypes for these characters? I'm pretty sure free cable porn comes up at least 2 times in this episode alone.
I didn't know that was a nerd stereotype, but okay. Buffy goes with Willow to one of her classes and finds herself completely overwhelmed and unable to follow the discussion because she is dumb.
Although based on what people were saying, it sounded like it would be a very annoying class to be in.
True.
And it also annoyed me how everyone emphatically raised their hands for every question.
Yeah. Later, while Buffy, Willow, and Tara are taking up the entire hallway, they are somehow surprised that someone bumps into them. It turns out to be Warren, who put what he refers to as an inhibitor on Buffy.
The 3 nerds are setting up surveillance of Buffy, which includes using the school cameras.
Buffy talks to Tara and finds herself experiencing lost time, a phenomenon with which I am becoming intimately familiar in my old age.
Yeah, sometimes I finish these episodes, and I don't remember what happened.
Those are the positive results of it.
And it keeps happening to Buffy, and eventually she becomes more and more aware of it, so everyone is zooming around at hyperspeed. See, I can make dumb Star Wars references too.
Buffy crawls under a table outside to avoid getting run over, and she says she hears a noise that means something is on her, which was just weird all around.
Yeah, the writing in this episode was very bad.
Oh, I thought you were going to say excellent. She finds the thing that Warren put on her, which causes the nerds to destroy it remotely.
So everybody was zooming around. From their perspective, is she standing in one spot all day?
Good question. I wondered what Tara thought when she's like, Buffy, where did you go? When Buffy was standing right in front of her, did she just disappear to her? What happened?
And at one point, Buffy was lying down in the grass. So would people say, hey, is that girl okay? Apparently not, throughout hours and hours.
The other nerds give Warren a score, and we learn that Andrew's turn is next.
You can put in that sigh.
Okay.
The next day, Xander has gotten Buffy a job at his construction site, and it turns out that all of them have completely shrugged off the time skipping as something not worth investigating, and Giles attributes it to being stress-related, which didn't make any sense.
And even Buffy brushes off the exploding bug that she found.
Yeah, she has physical evidence.
Well, she might not have evidence anymore, but she saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, these characters are really smart. Don't forget that.
Oh, see, in my notes I said, these characters are really dumb.
Xander introduces Buffy to the foreman, who of course turns out to be a dick, and they all try to embarrass her by telling her to move some metal beams, but she easily swings them around like she's trying to set a new record for a number of workplace fatalities in one day.
And throughout the day, she actually gets ragged on because she's doing everything too fast, and they get paid by the hour.
But just a second ago, the foreman was complaining that they're taking too long. I'm guessing he gets a bonus if they get done sooner. Explain in the comments how construction jobs work, because I've always wondered.
I thought you were just going to say how construction works.
Well, that too.
Andrew enacts his plan from the van. I didn't mean to rhyme there.
Uh-huh. Okay, man.
But see, now I'm thinking of how I could do it further.
Yeah. He starts playing a pan pipe.
His plan involves a pan flute for some reason. And it annoyed me how when he was blowing on the flute, he moved up, but the pitch went down. How hard is it to fix either the sound or the movement? Just do it.
But it's magic. Who knows how it works?
Oh, f*** you.
While the foreman is being a dick to Buffy again, a bunch of Predator wannabes suddenly attack. And we get some stock suspense music.
And this is in full view of everybody. People are also getting attacked by these demons. And when the demons die, they turn into this really shitty CGI goo.
I said they dissolve into puddles of sticky CGI. The observing nerds accidentally hit the horn in their pedophile van, which turns out to be the Star Wars fanfare, which gets Buffy's attention.
At that point, Xander comes over to see everyone beat up and everything destroyed, and he's annoyed that it will cost time and money to repair everything. And Buffy tells him what happened, which makes him irate, because he says Buffy brought her job to his job, as if she has any control over that.
And as if demons don't constantly show up everywhere in Sunnydale all the time.
And at this point, I wasn't sure if the demons were actually there. Like maybe the flute caused Buffy to hallucinate, so she was just swinging around and breaking things, which would have made more sense.
And for some reason, Buffy doesn't want to openly say it was demons, even though everybody did see them. Xander suggests that the demons are connected to the time slips from earlier, even though from their perspective, there's no reason to think that.
And again, even though he makes this pseudo-connection, they both decide to shrug this off too.
And Buffy loses her job, despite not doing anything wrong, and showing that she was more than capable of performing it well. So she goes to the magic shop to get a job there instead.
And the nerds are watching via camera from inside his skull on a shelf. So how did they know Buffy would go there next and get the camera there ahead of time?
Good question. And I know people are going to say magic, which, I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Again, why bother doing any of this then if you have the ability to do magic?
So now it's Jonathan's turn, and he casts a spell that humorously creates a lot of smoke. Ha ha ha.
In the shop, Giles is still hanging around, even though Anya owns and runs the shop now, right?
Yeah, I guess.
So is he getting paid, or is he just hanging out?
Good question. I assume he is getting paid, but I don't know.
Yeah, but when a customer comes in, he doesn't do anything. He tells Buffy to go do it.
Well, yeah, but she's training. He already knows how to run the place.
How many people do they need working there? It's a small space, and it's not like there's 20 people in there at a time.
Yeah, but as far as we know, it's just Giles and Anya. Do they both want to be there all day?
Anya does.
Yeah, that's probably true. While Buffy's going over to the customer, another one interrupts for a recommendation on what candle to buy.
This guy was kind of an idiot, because he wanted a romantic candle, and was so helpless that he couldn't read the labels, because one was lemon something or other, and the other one was slug.
Maybe he thought that was some kind of French thing. From their perspective, maybe that is more romantic. Explain in the comments.
Wow, that's... I don't know if you want to put that in.
Buffy goes to talk to the woman who wants to buy a mummy hand.
It's not on the floor, so Buffy goes into the basement to get it, And it turns out that it is alive.
Or undead, potentially. And it attacks her.
So she ends up Evil Dead 2ing it.
She takes it to the woman, but the woman refuses to pay for it.
Because it is dead, and she wanted it alive.
Or potentially undead. The front door opens, and the same woman enters, and Giles says the same stuff he said earlier. Jonathan explains to the others that Buffy is stuck in a time loop where she has to satisfy a customer with a task that resists solving.
So Buffy keeps failing to sell the hand. Something goes wrong every time. She just can't satisfy this woman over and over and over.
And the woman tells her that she was told on the phone that they have a mummy hand and she isn't leaving until she gets it. What an entitled bitch.
You sound like you work retail.
Don't remind me.
Will you accept this coupon from a different store?
It's also expired from 10 years ago. And it's not even for the item you're trying to buy. And we don't sell that item to begin with, so...
And the store is closed, and you're coming in outside of our working hours.
And I don't even work here. I'm also shopping here. In the van, the nerds reference the TNG episode Cause and Effect,
which you can check out on our channel. How's that for a plug?
And they reference the X-Files episode Monday. What a good idea to remind audiences that they could be watching better shows.
And eventually, Buffy solves the problem by telling the woman she will ship the hand to her address,
which satisfies the customer. This was an extremely implausible development. Just a second ago, the customer was adamant that she had been told on the phone that they had one, and she wasn't leaving without it, and now suddenly she's totally okay with something different. Anyone who has worked in retail knows that that's not how bitch-ass customers like this one operate.
Feeling a little personal.
I'm just commenting on the science of the episode.
Okay. Squeeze that stress ball I'm sure you got on your desk.
I squeezed the throat of that customer that I killed and brought home. The nerd herd says that Buffy succeeded, and for some reason they high-five about it. They say they were trying to see who could delay her the longest, but I thought they were trying to get rid of her. I don't understand.
After the sale, Buffy is chastised by Anya because she didn't charge the woman for shipping, so Buffy proceeds to stab Anya to death.
And Buffy quits.
She then goes to vent to Spike, where they drink and they bond.
Spike says he could do a better job of figuring out what's behind things than Giles, because he has connections in the demon world. And he tells her that she's a creature of the dark like him, and she should try being a part of that world.
So they go to a bar, and in the back room there's a bunch of demons playing cards. And Spike says he's going to join in, saying the other demons will talk while they play, and he and Buffy will be able to get some information.
And I was surprised that none of the demons reacted to the presence of the Slayer.
Even when Spike calls her the Slayer out loud. Like I thought maybe at first they didn't know who she was.
And it turns out they play for kittens, which was interesting.
And it seems like they only play one hand, because the kittens take up the entire table and they're alive, so they're moving around and shit.
Explain in the comments.
How to play poker with kittens.
Meanwhile, the nerds are driving in their van and arguing about which James Bond actor was the best. When obviously it was David Niven. Spike wins all the kittens, and the others accuse him of cheating, but Spike says they were trying to set him up, or something. It didn't really make sense. And a drunk Buffy gets frustrated and lets all the kittens go.
She then chastises Spike,
saying he's lame,
when she spots the nerd van and recognizes it from other places throughout the episode.
They see Buffy approaching on a monitor and tell Jonathan to use his magic bone, which was a recurring joke in quotation marks that we haven't mentioned because it was dumb.
Yeah, my blood pressure's going up just by you saying it. To allow them time to escape, Jonathan gives himself the form of a demon and confronts Buffy while the van speeds away.
I was confused about what the plan was because he seems surprised that the van speeds away.
So Buffy punches him a few times.
She kicks him once. You're wrong in more ways than one. So he throws down a smoke bomb and runs away. And as usual, Buffy just lets him go.
So all of the plans have failed.
Or have they succeeded? It's unclear.
I have joked that the nerds would be the big threat in this season, and I really hope that's not true.
Yeah.
Because this is the second time they've shown up and have been a big part of the episode.
And it's 2 episodes in a row. Back in the van, Warren says they have tons of info on the Slayer now. But what info do they have that they didn't have already?
Yeah, he built a f***ing robot of Buffy that fooled everybody.
At home, Giles tells Buffy that he didn't find anything on the demon.
And in her typical fashion, she starts whining to Giles about how everything is so hard, and he again puts on the kid gloves and enables her and does exactly the thing I wanted to happen least, and straight up gives her a huge check to immediately solve all of her financial problems.
And she says that knowing he'll always be there makes her feel safe.
And after she leaves, he looks concerned, implying that he won't always be there. But Giles already left. We already went through all of that. It was big, it was dramatic. So I guess let's just rehash that plot point, because the writers can't come up with anything new.
Life cereal. Overall?
I like it. Cinnamon's pretty good, in my opinion. I would rather talk about Life cereal than this episode, but I have to, because we make so much money from YouTube. I've actually noticed this trend of a lot of YouTubers talking about their personal problems related to their channel.
But like getting paper cuts from playing with too much money?
Or how algorithms are preventing them from making so much money, and they're just kind of lamenting. Like it's a trend right now. And personally, that's a problem for me. I'm just kidding. We're just going to keep doing what we do. 2 out of the 3 nerds' plans involved time manipulation. The writers couldn't come up with 3 unique plans. That's pretty lame. And if we could hit a few more stereotypes while we're at it, that would be good.
They haven't brought up Yu-Gi-Oh cards yet. That's what I used to make fun of nerds for.
Really?
Yeah, I still do sometimes, but people tell me to stay away from their kids, so...
I think the mummy hand sequence was the most successful sequence of the episode, not in terms of, their actual plan, but runtime-wise. It had the most substance. The time speed one and the flute demons were very throwaway, and characters in the moment didn't even act like they happened, or afterwards completely discarded it. This is at least the 2nd or 3rd episode where Buffy intentionally goes to Spike to vent and open up. And I get that the writers are going for a relationship between them, and it's working for the most part. But it's so formulaic at this point. It feels like a sitcom where she goes to Spike at the end of the episode to learn her lesson of the week. And the end of this episode, I hated it so much. Giles giving Buffy that check was infuriating. And he's clearly going to leave again, which I'm happy about the event itself because Giles doesn't do anything anymore. Even in this episode, he wandered around the magic shop and he never solved whatever was going on with Buffy. At the end, he just kind of shrugged it off himself, saying, "Oh, you must be being tested." What the hell does that mean, Giles? There were demons, time was speeding up, she was going through time loops. It wasn't like she was just like, "Oh, I'm so stressed out." If he cares as much as we've seen, he would have figured it out. But this was a case of bad writing for the episode, not just Giles. And outside of Giles, why did nobody give a shit about any of the weird stuff going on? They've investigated a lot less, way more thoroughly, often starting from hunches. But Buffy had evidence. Other people had evidence, and nobody seemed to care. The speed up with the little jewel thing, that was thrown out. The demons at the construction site, that was thrown out. The time loops were thrown out. The demon card game yielded nothing. The big Jonathan demon was thrown out. And then Giles gave Buffy a check. That was the only thing of consequence I had to sit through 45 minutes for. Giles giving Buffy a check. That should have been the synopsis of this episode. Giles continues to enable Buffy by giving her all the money she needs. This episode was a case where the writers clearly had no idea what to do, so they scrawled some random notes, looked at what they had already done, and just said, "Okay, we'll just do that, I guess." This episode was terrible in pretty much every way. I gave it an F.
Wow.
What? Okay, tell me what you liked about this episode. And if you say all the Star Wars references, I'm going to quit doing these right now.
I gave it a C+. I didn't think it was great.
Damn.
As I see it, this strange episode served 3 purposes. Number 1, showing Buffy's lack of control over her life. Number 2, bringing Buffy closer to Spike. And number 3, giving us more of the nerds. I guess number 4 would be a little bit with Giles there.
Okay, but see, my counter to that would be what I said before of, this has already been done.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
In this season. And we're only at episode 5.
Yeah, let me go into my points here.
Alright.
So, for number 1, Buffy's lack of control over her life. That would have worked better if Buffy's behavior in this episode fit what we know a little better. The fact that most of the humor came directly from her is strange, given what we've seen of her so far this season and what we know about how she feels about things. If I hadn't seen the previous episodes, I never would have suspected that she was dealing with anything outside of not having money. As far as bringing her closer to Spike, her interactions with Spike this season have been fine, although it still doesn't really make sense that she's suddenly more accepting of him than she was before, but at least he doesn't feel as stupid as he did for a long time. So I guess for him that's an improvement. And then for point number 3, giving us more of the nerds, I don't like following these annoying characters around, and their activities don't feel very thought out in the writing. It feels like the focus is more on trying to make them funny, but they're not funny, they're annoying and dumb, and it mostly feels like they're just doing random stuff, which is not exactly interesting and doesn't make sense from the perspective of pushing things forward at all.
Wait, I'm confused. Was this a positive?
No, this is not a positive.
Okay.
Let me get to the positives. In terms of those plans that they enacted or whatever, that first one, the time-shifting scenario, had a lot of potential, I thought, for how they could have played with it, but then they had Buffy get out of it before anything could really happen. So that seemed kind of pointless. And then the one with the demons at the construction site was just generic demons and lame jokes. So that whole part of the episode was just a waste. But that time loop, the third one, I thought was easily the best part of the episode. I thought the humor, even if it didn't make sense for Buffy in context, was at least funny and handled better than usual, especially the stuff with Anya. Her line delivery tends to be better than most of the other characters, and she tends to be written more consistently than the other characters, and I think it helps that she's mostly comic relief, but I think she works. If they had made that segment more of the focus of the episode, it could have been a lot better, and it would have been easier to overlook more of the things that didn't work, like how so many things didn't make sense. And I thought the effects with the severed hand were pretty good. I was surprised that that looked as good as it did.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
And I know we're not supposed to think about this, but what if another person had walked into the magic shop while that spell was in effect? Would that interrupt the loop? Or did they put a magic barrier around the store to dissuade people from coming in? Bringing up questions like that could have been a way to make that a bigger part of the episode. Maybe we could have had Willow and Tara trying to get in and get Buffy out, trying to use their own spells to figure out what was happening or whatever. And maybe their spells could have affected how the time loop was happening, and it could have changed things.
So essentially you just wish it was cause and effect.
Yeah, but good. I did enjoy that part of the episode, but the rest of it not so much. And I hope we don't just keep getting a bunch of lame setups by the nerds, because I am very tired of that already. We got that last episode. We got that 3 times this episode. I guess 4 if you count Jonathan transforming into a demon or whatever.
So, in essence, it sounds like your positives are not from the episode itself, because I'm pretty sure you said at least 2 times could have done better. So your positive is that they had potential, but should have done better.
Well, that's part of it, yes, but I did enjoy that part of the episode. I just wish that was the episode, and that the rest of it wasn't in there.
I'm not just talking about that, I'm talking about the other points you had.
It wasn't a great episode. I gave it a C+.
Yeah, that's high. That's above average.
Yeah, because some of it was funny, which makes it above average.
Like,
And these nerds, we've said this before, but they clearly have a lot of power potential. So if the writers are determined to make them a big part of the show, I hope they at least do something that feels like it matters a bit more, instead of just weird, pointless schemes that don't go anywhere, and then high-fiving at the end. Because this really has been 2 episodes in a row that were pretty much the same, in terms of what actually happened.
yep.
What I'm hoping is that they summon up some kind of super powerful demon that kills them all, and then that becomes the main threat of the season. And then maybe Buffy has to figure out what their plans were to counteract it or something.
Yeah, but see, you're thinking.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So hopefully the next one is better than this one. And the one before it, because they were the same.
I can't wait. Thanks for watching.
I guess.